Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is KarQ. Welcome back to the KarQives, the KarQ Archives channel where I upload gameplay and some other content that doesn't require as much editing compared to the main channel content, which is all tips and tricks. But today, we're doing the second iteration of answering Overwatch University questions. This time, a little bit better than the first time, which was last month of November, where I answered the last month's questions. It is currently December 16th as of recording this video, filtered by top of the month, and we're gonna go down the list and answer, I don't know, maybe like 20 questions. How about I try to answer it with my answer and then we'll read the top answer. Let us begin. This video was sponsored by Opera GX. Opera GX is the world's first gaming browser, and it has some pretty cool features. One of my favorite features is GX Control over here. This panel allows you to limit the network bandwidth, RAM, and CPU that the browser is consuming. This helps enhance performance on your PC when gaming with your browser open and get rid of lag while playing games. It's perfect when you want to keep many tabs open and not lose them. You can also customize your browser with some very aesthetically pleasing color palettes. You can tell these are inspired by neon lights and how they break the darkness of the night to give your browser a really cool vibe. We've also got GX Corner as well to stay up to date with free games, deals, and gaming news, all in one accessible place. For example, you can click ahead to December 16th at the time of this recording and see Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is coming out on that day. Now, what's also new is that Opera GX is now on mobile, called GX Mobile, which can be connected to the desktop version so you can have Opera wherever you go. So download Opera GX with my link down below for mobile or desktop. Best DPS to play as someone whose game sense and awareness is much better than their mechanical skill. If you ask me, I think the best DPSs to play, which has less mechanical skill, Torbjorn, Reaper, Bastion, Bastion, if you have a team set up for you. That's actually kind of tough. Maybe Symmetra, because you kind of just, other than having a bit of tracking when they get close, a lot of the gameplay style is just having a decent setup and just spamming the choke until they inevitably walk in. No, I think chat's saying Sombra. I disagree. I don't think Sombra is, I think Sombra does require a few mechanics, although having high game sense and awareness does make Sombra stronger in that capacity. Honestly, if you just use your microphone, actually, you know what? In that, if you take it with that perspective or that lens, Sombra is good in the sense that if you have a mic, you're playing Sombra, you're already adding value because you can scout and get information, which can help your team build their game sense and awareness because you're helping your team be aware, like, hey, they're running a Widowmaker, I'm invisible, but I see her. So yeah, maybe in that way. And I would say those 3 or 4. Chat, this question was DPS, by the way. I see you guys are writing Moira and stuff. Major account disparity between accounts. Okay, so everybody always says this, I'm stuck in whatever rank, but I made a new account and I climbed all the way to, okay, let's say I'm hard stuck in gold, but I made a new account and now I'm diamond. Matchmaking's up, man. Like, elo hell is real. Now, major account SR disparity, every time you make a new account and you're under diamond, the matchmaker and the algorithm has to kind of guess where your rank is based on a small sample size. If you have a large sample size, you're obviously going to be gaining and losing like 20. New accounts, it's going to be God knows how much. You can gain and lose like almost hundreds early on, right? And now the counter argument is that you place one account in diamond and your other account's in gold, and then after 50 games you're still in diamond, and then you really feel like you're a diamond player, but then you play on your gold account later on and you're like, what's happening? I'm still stuck there. Why is there like this elo? I'm an elo hell in gold and I can't get out, but I can totally maintain myself in diamond. Maybe you're partially parts of your skills, maybe after those 50 games started improving in that rank and you kind of adjusted your playstyle that maybe better suits the diamond players. But I've always been a believer that if you're a good Overwatch player, you should be able to adapt no matter what. Eventually, if you're diamond or whatever, you're going to hit this bad losing streak because everybody goes up and down. You're going to fall back to plat and you're going to maybe equalize there now that you played in gold and diamond. And then you're going to be like, well, I can't get back. You're not going to admit it, but you might not be able to get back to diamond right away. But you should always just be like an adaptive player. You have to kind of learn how to play around different styles of tanks if you're a DPS or support player. Some people are more aggressive than others. People take different angles, and learning to adjust is the best skill you can have. And that would eliminate any need for like that sort of account disparity. Anyways, if you play 1,000 games in diamond and you're still in diamond, like 1,000 games, and you played 1,000 more games in gold and you're still in gold on 2 accounts, I think your playstyle just suits that better. But after 1,000 games, you can't even account for the natural improvement you'd had. But at the end of the day, this all boils down to just low sample size. Okay, third question. Sombra seems like one of the best heroes in the game, so why does everybody hate it? It's because everybody who's not playing Sombra isn't having a fun time playing against the Sombra. And Sombra is a good hero if played right and you're like hacking the right people. What tank enjoys being hacked? Nobody enjoys being hacked against Sombra. This is such an easy, this question, why does everyone hate it? She stops ults, she cancels practically every tank ult. Hacking right, you got your answer. She does need team synergy though. And bad Sombras will stay in stealth and not contribute. Also true. Why do so many pro players spawn camp the attackers on first point Havana? Havana kind of has like 3 fighting areas. If you don't take the first spawn, if you don't spawn camp the attackers on first, you basically give up that entire like first. You give up that, and like they're gonna push that that payload all the way up to like that first corner naturally for free, and then you take. There's usually a team fight that happens there. If the attackers win it, the payload will usually get close to the checkpoint, and there's usually enough time for a second fight. Basically, you're always guaranteed 2 fights on Havana with those 2 hot zones where people fight. So if you just decide to spawn camp the first point of Havana, you can guarantee 3 fights, and you can buy almost a minute and a half, sometimes 2 minutes. And sometimes, like obviously if you're a really good team, then you spawn camp all 4 minutes. So it's just the way like Havana's designed. Very long first point where the choke points and sight lines work really nicely to have, instead of defaulting to 2 fights, you can default to 3 and give yourselves as a defender extra minutes, which is why a lot of pro players spawn camp the attacker side. Next question, how does LhCloudy's style of Rein work? If you guys don't know LhCloudy, he was a Finnish Reinhardt player, Rein specialist, tank player, but mostly specializes in Rein. Was in the Overwatch League for a bit as well. He's known to have one of the most aggressive Reinhardts in the game, and he's consistently always top 10, rank 1 sometimes. His style of Rein works because he plays it calculated. Some people just think being aggressive means just pressing W, which he does do a lot, but he's like calculated. He min-maxes the amount he can push up, and he knows the space he can take. That's just fundamental understanding of, you know, how much space you can take. That's basically it. I want to start shifting my style. The thing is, if people start playing like him, they watch the stream, oh, he's just pressing W. He's like, he's such a good Rein player that he just knows the resources behind him and what he can get away with. Okay, this question, low gold, high silver checking in. I think I figured something out. If you're a tank and it seems like your healers aren't healing, try switching to more stationary tank. Well, low gold, high silver player, you might be correct. Now, you don't have to be completely stationary, but the advice for tanks is to always press W. That's what you hear all the time, which is true in most cases. But yeah, if your healers aren't healing, it's probably a sign that number 1, they're probably getting jumped by a DPS or a flanker, and their attention is turned away from you at the moment. And number 2, instead of necessarily switching to a stationary tank, I don't like the word stationary in that, because that might build a bad habit. It's more about finding ways to take less damage when your healers aren't actively healing you. Whether that's putting up your shield as Rein, whether that's bubbling, whether that's using natural cover to hide at a line of sight for a little bit. Reassess what's going on behind you before making your next decision. Or if it seems like your healers aren't healing, I don't know, if there's a way you could take out 2 for 1, generally that's worth it. If you're on defense at like a checkpoint and you have a closer spawn and your healers aren't healing you, sometimes if you can just take 1 out with you, you naturally have the advantage because the attackers have a long way to push, defenders don't. It's a pretty tough, it's like a very like open-ended question that has a lot of answers, variable answers depending on the situation. But in general, instead about switching to a more stationary tank, again, try to find ways to take less damage or immediately get value without compromising your life. Or if you are going to compromise your life, 2 to 1. Damage mitigation is it. Healing, line of sight, and peel issues. Yes, also line of sight. I forgot to mention that. It's a good point. If you're pushing too far out of the LOS, it's also kind of tough as well. These are good answers, man. Most people on Reddit, like Reddit University, actually has some solid answers. Maybe a bit more nuanced, and I would change a little bit of the answer, but generally speaking, that is the correct advice. This person asks, what is the reasoning for alt accounts in Overwatch? Some people just like to feel good by stomping players in lower ranks. Those are like hard smurfs, which a bit questionable at times. But sometimes alternate accounts are for, some people have friends they want to play with at a different rank. Some people in the high ranks who are like the top players, like 46, 4400 plus, have really long queue times, and they might have an alternate account in lower GM, which has better queue times. Some people just want to stay anonymous and have a different name. A bunch of different reasons for alternate accounts. The only thing I don't think there's anything wrong with alt accounts. I think the only thing that's kind of frowned upon is if you are genuinely like a pretty high ranked player and you make an alt account. If you make an alt account and you play it normally, even in a new role, like you're just playing normally, that's fine. If you're intentionally throwing that account to purposefully place in a lower ranking just to beat up the noobs, to feel good about yourself, that's when people kind of draw the line. Am I damage boosting too much as Mercy? Depends. This just depends. There's times where damage boosting is very good. You should damage boost high impact DPS heroes or whoever you're damage boosting. If you can change their TTK or time to kill to confirm kills, change breakpoints, very good. But you also shouldn't be forgetting, sometimes it's healing priority as Mercy as well. You should also not forget to heal your other support or your other DPSs. Remember that. What is this comp called? Winston Diva, Tracer / Reaper, Sombra, Lucio Moira. I call this dive brawl. Traditionally dive heroes, but I call it brawl on maps where you don't really have to like dive too far. You kind of just roll into them. So like some people ran this comp on maps that don't have that much high ground, like Nepal. What's the one? Not Village and not Sanctum. The other one. But caster buddy of mine calls it zombie comp. I think it's called 6-man. I don't know. Neo Goats or zombie comp, or it's called disease comp in June Joust. It was Winston Diva, Lucio Moira, Echo Reaper. You just play it like Rush. Sorry, did I say brawl? I meant Rush. I'll be honest, I haven't really heard of it called zombie comp. I have always called it like dive brawl rush hybrid. That's a cool name though. 6-man. 6-man is a good name because it describes how to play it. Rush S6. That's good. Why don't tanks get in front of BAP's imp matrix? Yeah, why don't they? Good point. Okay, Inspector 3045. I'm a Baptiste player. Unless you're going for a synchronized fire strike as Reinhardt, or you shoot a little bit for the amp damage, other than that, stay in front of it so I can double heal you. You get 2x healing if you stand in front. If you stand in front of my amp matrix, you can, because if you go behind my amp matrix, which is generally a really defensive ultimate for me as Baptiste, you're losing space by backing your ass up as a tank. And then they get to walk forward, but then obviously they don't want to walk forward in front of a window. But what if the tank is Orisa? Orisa should still stand in front of it, because now she can actually take more space and push into them, because I'm literally healing them for, what is it? Isn't it 70 for a direct heal now? I'm healing them for I'm shoving 140 healing up the tank's butt every second, and I'm shooting 2 shots through my DPS. And my DPS's Baptiste is fucking disgusting through a window, and all the other DPSs, whoever else is shooting it. It's a lot of value. Just stay in front of the thing, unless you're just doing a quick fire strike. How to play a better Moth Mercy. What is this? What the hell's a Moth Mercy? Like the pro player Moth, or like DPS Mercy? What does this mean? My friends say I'm a good Mercy, not far from the worst. I struggle with is when I want to use her Gin in tonic, and how to use it. I see Mercy's getting 3 Ks and I can't get any. That's just for flex. This is just a flex for like play of the game. It's not necessary to get 3 Ks to climb. Any tips for how to get better and balance out when to go Moth? You go Moth when there's no one else to shoot. There's nothing else, no one to damage boost, fight's over. Yeah, pull out your gun for a bit. And you go Moth when they don't have aimbot, Torb, turret, soldier, Bob. Yeah. Is it okay to only know how to play 3 DPS? That's better than a lot of other people. 3 is totally fine, man. Some people only play 1. You got 3 in the bag? Good job. How do you dive Brig? Specifically, the support Brig is protecting. You have more people than she can handle, or you don't. That's it. Say you're playing a dive tank, enemy and a BAP is then protected by a competent Brig. Confident she doesn't frontline use. How do you approach it? Brig could boop it away. What's a dive tank to do? Just don't dive them. Stop solo diving, gets a competent backline. Boom, look at that. If the backline is working together, you're fighting 2 people by yourself, which will rarely work. Engage with another person. See, everybody in Overwatch University, like I said, is giving great answers. Failing that, the purpose of dive is to isolate and jump the most vulnerable target. This usually is, but isn't necessarily a support. True. Just don't solo dive him until he's caught up. There you go. Bottom barrel bronze advice needed. Silver a couple seasons ago, went on a massive losing streak. 500 SR, been improving, win streak, still 500, bottom 500, baby. I'm wondering if I should just start another account. No. Part of the grind. Well, I mean, I guess you could. I know I stuck, but 500 is awful. Should I start and win? You could do both. Mate, you might as well try to pick yourself back up. It should happen. It'll feel much. I was gonna say it was gonna feel more rewarding if you do it yourself with that the cheat code of another new account, which might inflate it. But at the same vein, if you make a new account and you get placed in gold and you play in gold games, you might improve at a faster rate. It's like if you're bronze and you're stuck at bronze, it's like you're benching 45, okay? And then you make a new account and you're at gold and you're benching 135 now. Maybe you can't handle it and you fall out of gold right away, but maybe you can maintain yourself at 135. Then you build up that strength at 135, and the next time you go back to that 45, just the bar, easy. That's the goal, at least. Why is Ana exempt from armor? I don't know. A lot of heroes don't have armor. Only some people do. Exempt from armor damage reduction. Oh wait, you mean her tick her thing against it, right? About her primary fire? Yeah, dots ignore armor, because I think the way that the damage over times are calculated is just different. It's like just because it's not always like the same amount. If you actually all I know is when I used to try to slow down footage when I saw Ana's damage, like it would actually take a different number each time depending on the unless things have changed. But yeah, basically DOTs are just exempt from armor, just like Blizzard. Grab dragons, dynamite, and skill orbs. There you go. Teams don't understand that I'm hiding. Are you trying to do like a flank Rein thing? Yeah, don't give that shit away. Having a lot of this ball, but I was playing soldier, hiding in a good high ground, waiting for a nice time to engage, but such a time never comes. My team keeps staggering in. I'm thinking about it too. I think they see my outline like, wow, over 10 CK is fighting. I'm gonna fight too. Oh, like they're in a deep enemy position and their team just starts inting, thinking they need help. You just have to let them know I'm in a good spot. You just need to communicate it. That's literally it. Number one answer, communicate or just regroup. That's it. If you believe your positioning is consistently the thing prompting them to engage, then that is what needs to change. One of the best ways to rank up is learning to adapt to your team. Wow, what did I say earlier? This is true, even if that means what is absolutely an inferior strategy, at least until you reach a rank. That's right. I've had little to no improvement since I started. It's part of the learning curve. You just got to give yourself more time, more games. How much have you actually played? There's people in this game who have dumped thousands of hours. Thousands! I played for over a year, 100 hours, and I still suck. I've played every DPS an extensive amount. Every DPS? Then that means you spread your like 30 hours. Dude, I have like 100 hours on like Diva, and I'm still awful at her. Takes a lot, and sometimes heroes don't resonate with you as much as you think. Timing is actually very important as well for specific heroes. It's maybe not about fighting at the same time, but close enough that like maybe just a bit before your entire team engages. As a tracer, you can kind of pull two people off by like causing havoc. As long as you're not dying in the back, like you don't have to leave the fight and recall while the team engages. If you can at least pull people away, the attention away, and then when your full team goes in, that's when you take advantage of it. What to do as tank when my DPS does next to no damage? Well, as a tank, you can also get a lot of damage. You ever watch like Rein players like LhCloudy or Flats or whatever? They sometimes have gold damage. Same with off tanks. You do the damage. You take the space, you do the damage. Sometimes the DPS doesn't actually have to have the highest damage. As long as you're taking out the key targets. If like the Sombra, like, have you ever watched Fitzy? Sometimes he has bronze damage or no metal at all, and he's winning games because he's eliminating the targets on the enemy team that matters. If they don't have like any damage metal, but they're constantly like hunting down one enemy, like the Sombra's constantly hunting down the enemy Widowmaker and making it hell for her. It's technically a 5v5, and then that Widow threat for their supports isn't there anymore. So then the Sombra team supports like Zen and Brig don't have to worry about a Widow because the Sombra is always taking care of that. So it's less about your DPS doing next to no damage. If they're not having any impact whatsoever outside of damage metal, that's when maybe run into problems. All right. Well, thanks for listening to me answering this month of December's Overwatch University questions. I like the subreddit quite a bit. I think it's a good educational resource. If you're looking to ask questions, not a plug for, I'm totally plug them. Overwatch University, great subreddit. But if you have questions, you can leave them in the comments or ask them and I'll try to answer them next month. Thanks for watching.